Today I did a blog post about the difference between the foreground and the background. And, I know this may sound a little opaque or possibly a little boring, but to me, the distinction is extremely important to understand. And I'm going to really try to make this very brief. I know that I can be long-winded, so I'm going to really work on being brief. And this really is about experiencing the absolute pleasure of yourself. It's an incredible sense of sensuality. When we're identified with the foreground, and 99.9% of us are identified as the foreground, the play of the senses and light and experience, when we say that is us, and we're very selective about what part of the foreground is us and what part is different, and that's the whole nature of separation. We may end with our skin, we may end with our sense of our bodily position in the world, but I think for most of us, we end where we think we end. It's a matter of thought. It's not something that can be seen or perceived. It's really a psychological dimension. But we also can notice, thanks to videos like this and many books, that there is this unchanging background of experience. And that is what the sages of the past are pointing to. But here's where we get all mixed up, and here's where it gets confusing, and this is where seekers can be on the path forever and never quite get it. They, as the foreground, try to become the background. That can't happen. The foreground is the foreground, and the background is the background. It's not that they're separate. The foreground is part of the background. The background is everything but has neither shape nor form. So the question becomes, how do I break this iron grip I have with the foreground? How do I release or let go of this grasping onto this separate self, this me, this whatever you are, put your name on it. Is there a way? And I believe there is a way. There are many ways. And really, there are many ways as there are people. But this is something that can work for everybody. And here it is. Are you ready? What we do is we simply wake up from the dream of the foreground. Now that sounds very esoteric and very vague, and I know that it does, but it'll become a lot less vague and a lot less esoteric. We realize this is a dream, but first we have to understand why it's a dream. It's a dream because it is in ceaseless change, but our psychology assigns a permanence to it. And that's where the problem comes in. This is like that, and I am like this. She is like that, and he is like that. My parents are like this. My kids are like that. The psyche wants things in its neat little boxes and categories. And that's what psyches do, and that's not a problem. It's cool. It's just a dream. It isn't real. Okay? It's an imposition of knowledge and solidity in an area where you can't have that kind of solidity. But it's not totally a dream. There's many things we can say about it. We really can say things that I like saying, that, like Republicans are assholes. And Democrats really are not much better. We can say whatever we want, but it ultimately is a dream. There is no solidity to our definitions. There's no essential meaning to the statement Republicans are assholes, even though there's a lot of face validity to it. But I'm really trying to make light of something. But I'm making light of something for a reason. And this is my reason. The ego really clings. It's that part of us which attaches onto these definitions. So it clings to this and that and the other thing. It clings to the dream as real and having permanence. It isn't, because, we're born, we die, we come, we go. Thoughts come, thoughts go away, feelings go, they come, states come and go. It all comes and goes, but the background stays the same. Remember, we can't get to the background. There's no path there. The whole challenge is how do we wake up from this dream? How do we do it? Well, there's a way. Remember, we can't get to the background. All we can do is dissolve the dream. And it's not a matter necessarily of disbelieving it, because that's another dead end. Because the dream has a fair amount of reality to it. It just doesn't have permanence. So here's my way. And it'll work for nearly everybody. Will not work for everybody, but it will work for nearly everybody. What we do is we see the seriousness that we impose upon the dream. How we seriously cling to our identities. Not just our own personal identities, but also to the identities we project out into the world. Republicans, Democrats, parents, neighbors, kids, schools, crime, drugs, flowers, insects. It doesn't really matter. It's all part of the semi-real dream to which we assign a certain seriousness. We don't try to take the seriousness away. We simply become mindful of the seriousness. We see the seriousness. It's something we can feel underneath all the senses. And we begin relaxing that seriousness. You know, the problem with teachers like Leonard Jacobson and Eckhart Tolle and Krishnamurti is that they in a way make you more serious. You know, with Leonard Jacobson, you're always, I got to be in the now. If I'm not in the now, then I'm misbehaving. You know, it's very similar to Krishnamurti. I must be attentive to the now, and there's always a certain seriousness to that. And to some extent, it's also true of Eckhart Tolle, but he himself, I don't think, takes himself that seriously. But those two do. So I don't. And I'm urging you not to as well. So you see the seriousness and you begin releasing from that seriousness. You see it and you start releasing it without necessarily becoming disconnected from the reality you directly experience, because there is reality to it. There's just not permanence. This is really a much more refined application of traditional Eastern teachings. And it's also more fun. Because once you begin releasing the seriousness, you know, you just lean back and go, hey, you know, it is what it is. I think this, I think that, you think this, you think that. I might change the way I think. You might change the way you think. You know, the part releasing is the psyche part. You know, there's still very many serious problems in the world. People going hungry, the rejection of scientific observation, which concerns me greatly, personally. It's not that science is a religion, but we can get a lot from it. So we release the psyche part to it, and we become, in a way, a lot less intense about ourselves. We can still intensely pursue what we enjoy and love doing, whether it's science, art, whatever it is, making a delicious dinner. It doesn't really matter. But we release that sense of permanence we apply to the dream, the semi-real dream of life. Now, I really wanted to make this short, and I've already gone way too long. So, I'm sorry. It's just my way. So I do want to cut this short, but I want to invite you to ask questions, make comments. I will respond to the video comments on the video. I do offer consultations. If you'd like to take advantage of that, you're always welcome. Personal consultations can be very helpful because sometimes someone else sees what you're blind to. This is really just like Krishnamurti and just like Eckhart Tolle and just like Leonard Jacobson. It's keeping our eyes open to the now, but in a relaxed way where the seriousness of the internal psyche, that internal judge and authority that we have within us, this knower of right and wrong, of good and bad, gets dissolved and released. Well, anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed saying these words with you. Bye-bye.